Do you remember the last 3 years of the COVID-19 pandemic? Lockdown, oxygen cylinders, death, it was complete mayhem, remember? And from this, the horrific and a historic COVID pandemic, we came out alive because of India's resilience to one, make vaccines just in time and save her people. Not waiting for the white man duty to save us. Rightfully also ignoring the Western press that so desperately was waiting to see India fail. But by 2023, India is a clear winner in vaccine diplomacy. And how? This is January 2023. Barely a week ago, China reported nearly 13,000 COVID-related deaths. China said nearly 60,000 people died with COVID in hospitals in just over a month. So even as cases are rising in China, again with BF.7 subvariant, experts say India is unlikely to face another wave. Well, we hope that too. One of the reasons for that is vaccines. India has completed 2 years of vaccination drive by now, under which about 220 crore doses of the COVID-19 vaccine has been administered. India uses two vaccines mainly, the Covishield, which is Oxford AstraZeneca jab, manufactured in India. And then there is Covaxin by the Indian firm Bharat Biotech, and it is homegrown. India countered logistical and supply bottleneck, hesitancy among the public, and a wide section of the Western press itching to say of how after the mayhem in China, India will also be next. We have proven them to be wrong. Made in India and made for the world. Under Vaccine Maitre, India has now become a world leader in vaccine manufacturing. Indian pharmaceutical companies supply more than 50% of global demand for different vaccines needed for global immunization. Well, we may not be in the elite category of so-called developed nations, yet we have assisted developing nations with aid. Not as arrogance, but as basic humanitarian, inexpensive gesture of aid and export. Within the country now, vaccines have been delivered even to far-flung villages in mountain regions, or even doses have been ferried to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, because eventually it is about vaccinating the masses. Now remember the expanse, the terrain and sheer high population of our nation. This coordination has now caught the attention of the world leaders. Bill Gates acknowledged the milestone when we completed 200 crore vaccinations. Anthony Farrell, who's the Australian ambassador to India, had this to say.
What we've seen today is reassuring. It demonstrates again the strength of India's innovation and pharmaceutical sectors. It demonstrates again India's leadership of the world.
While we were battling our own apprehensions, and understandably so, there were these desperate attempts by the Western press that said this, just to devalue a developing nation's audacity to think of becoming a vaccine leader. But so we did. Pune-based Serum Institute of India is the world's largest vaccine manufacturer by the volume of doses it has produced and sold globally. There are Bharat Biotech, Panakia Biotech, Sanofi Shanta Biotechnics, Biological E, Hester Biosciences and Zydus Cadila, installing a capacity to manufacture 8.2 billion doses of different vaccines every year. Now let's talk big bucks, because that's what the West is worried about. United States has about 6 of the 10 largest pharmaceutical companies globally and almost half of the global $1.6 trillion pharma revenue. COVID-19 drugs and vaccines, therefore, were a boost to Pfizer and Moderna profits. But how? The US Medicare Prescription Drug Improvement and Modernization Act of 2003 prevents their government from controlling the high price of the US prescription drug. The branded drugs are one of the largest exports for the United States of America. In sharp contrast here, the Drug Price Control Orders, the DPCO, under the Essential Commodities Act 1955, enables Indian government to declare a ceiling price for essential and life-saving drugs and vaccines so that it's accessible for one and all. But with the American control, Pfizer was accused of arm twisting many governments of comparatively smaller nations during the humanitarian crisis. Accept the indemnity clause, cannot challenge in case of a side effect and a heavy cost. What will a poor nation do when people are dying? They will of course go and accept the clause. Now Pfizer is struggling to reply to some of the reported cases of myocarditis and if there is a link to any brain stroke. Studies are still ongoing, there is no confirmation yet on that. But the worst part is, while many within our scientific community and the political leadership were showing a will to form an imprint of India, many within our country, even some of the netas so caught up with a Western alleged greatness, were escalating domestic pressure to include foreign vaccines like the Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson vector vaccine. If India had approved Pfizer or any other foreign vaccines apart from the sovereign immunity, they would have to give a guarantee for a very expensive vaccine that needs impractical storage and logistics. We could have been a worse stage at the time. Recently, this video went viral. Two reporters throwing a barrage of questions on the Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla in Davos, that facing allegations against Pfizer and its side effects. Now a little more detail for you with regard to science. The mRNA and the DNA vaccines introduce copies of viral genetic material to get our cells to produce viral antigens, which then stimulate our immune system against these viruses. It's not a commonly used practice for human vaccine production. It was rushed through emergency approvals, so we are unsure still of the long-term effect. The vaccine used in India, meanwhile, are based on studied technique using an inactivated virus or a modified adenoviruses. Deputy Chairperson of Rajya Sabha Harivansh has said at the Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth in Australia that India offered support to more than 150 affected countries in the form of COVID vaccines, medical equipment and medicines. And now India is set for its another big achievement, world's first nasal vaccine. iNCOVACC, world's first COVID-19 intranasal vaccine, will be launched on January 26th. Developed by India's Bharat Biotech, this will be rolled out as a booster dose for those above 18 years of age. It will be available for just 800 rupees per dose in private markets and at about 325 per dose for procurement by the central and state government. Using a cold virus from a chimpanzee to deliver a harmless copy of the coronavirus spike protein to the lining of the nose. This can prove cost-effective in the low and middle-income countries and enable mass immunization to protect from emerging variants. The best part? That it's non-invasive, it has a higher compliance and is scalable as far as manufacturing is concerned. As I conclude this episode of Homeland, here is the big question. Why was there a campaign literally against India's effort in vaccine despite its honorable history? India has been a torchbearer when it comes to the efficacy of vaccines. India declared itself smallpox-free in 1977. India received polio-free certification from the World Health Organization in 2015. All of this was made possible because of Made in India vaccines and a mass vaccination of every child. Knowing our capabilities, we need to better trust our own sometimes, not just our talent or human resources, but the fact that we can make it to the top and that India can be the next big leader. Thank you for watching.